Let's talk about the three energetic states of progress, survival, stability, and flow.
Today on the Wandering But Not Lost podcast.
Welcome to Wandering But Not Lost, your online source for finding balance so that you can align, connect, and prosper. And now your hosts, Jen O'Brien and Matt Emerson.
Welcome back to the Wandering But Not Lost podcast, where we help you align your business and your life and your mindset so you can thrive and not just survive.
That's a lot of stuff.
There is. And hey, you can get, as always, all the show notes over at WBNLpodcast.com. This is episode 358. Matt, survival, stability, and flow. You ready to chat about that?
Love it.
All right. Well, I know where I want to be. And at the end of this podcast, I would imagine you would hope to also be in the flow state. We're going to help you get there. So let me ask you this, dear listeners and viewers. Are you grinding through your days, just trying to get by? Are you stuck in a cycle of, things are fine, but I'm not really feeling fulfilled? You're sort of coasting on autopilot. Been there. Been on that first one too. Or are you riding that magical wave where everything just flows? So in today's episode, that's what we're talking about. The three energetic states of progress that every entrepreneur, creator, business person, and human cycles through. And we cycle through them. We have, depending on what your life is like, up and back, survival, stability, and flow. All right. So we're going to help you recognize what state you're in, give you actionable ways. That's what we do here at WBNL Podcast.
We do.
Shift your energy and momentum when you're stuck or you're feeling disconnected. All right. Sound good? That's the plan, Matt. And we're going to talk about the first state, survival mode. Let's start with that one. This is a state we have all found ourselves in at some point. Hopefully you're not feeling this way right now. If you are, this is where it may feel like fight, flight, or freeze. You're reacting instead of responding. Every task feels heavy. You're overwhelmed. You feel like your to-do list is endless. You're just trying to make it through the day. Sound familiar? Yes, I think everybody can say, been there, done that. Maybe you've been feeling that lately. I know I have talked to a lot of folks, and I know I've personally gone from flow back into this just due to things happening in life. And it's about how quickly you can recognize this and get yourself back. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So you may be, if you're in this state, worrying constantly about money. If you're in business, where the lead's coming from, you may be hustling, but you have no strategy. You're just thinking, if I stay busy and I'm hustle, and grinding it out, it's all going to work out. This one definitely has happened. Saying yes to everyone and everything because of fear instead of discerning and choosing the right clients to work with. Procrastination, which really is decision paralysis. You don't do things because you overthink it. And inconsistent habits. So, here's a real life example. We have definitely over the years worked with real estate agents who've had a couple of slow or bad months in a row. And that's, for real estate people, that is where, and it could be things like deals canceling, one thing after another happening, making your deals harder. And I really do believe, I have forever, and I've been coaching this forever, when you're in that space of survival and kind of desperation, it exudes from you, and you sort of attract people who aren't making decisions or who are a reflection. We're always attracting what we're a reflection of, right? So if you have a couple bad months, or if you've experienced this already, or maybe you're hearing this now, you might have had some things happen and now you start spiraling. So what happens is you get behind because of the things I just said. You're hustling, but you don't have a strategy. You get rid of the things that were working for you. You stop following up with leads. You're overdoing it on the ones that you have that maybe you're never going to buy. You stop creating content if that's how you generate leads, or whatever it is that you do to generate leads. You try to do everything at once with zero clarity. That's completely survival mode. So how do you get out of that? Well, guess what? It's as simple as the things we talk about here, and we've had numerous podcasts on. It starts with having a grounding, doing something every day, grounding yourself daily, having a morning power hour. You can't get away from that. If you don't get yourself focused and start to get clarity around how do you take control, then you'll always be on this little flywheel, little hamster wheel. You have to simplify. Don't do 10 things. Try to find one aligned thing. When I have felt in this space, Matt, and I've talked to you about this, right? It is literally getting back to the daily 5, which we talked about in one of our previous episodes. Yep. Just get back to the basics. For me, it's staying on track with the morning routine and doing content and following up with leads and keeping it that simple. And when I have found myself in that space of feeling like it's a little bit of survival, I go back to that and things start to work out. It really helps, right? Yep. So you ask yourself, what's the one thing I can control right now? And what you can control is how you decide to feel about things, which is going to help you with that morning routine and just taking one aligned action. All right. So that is survival mode. Let's get out of that one.
Yeah, let's get out of that one. Let's talk about stability, which is number 2 here, the number 2 state. It's kind of the space between chaos and momentum, right? You climbed out of the weeds of survival mode. You're no longer reacting. Now you're functioning. You've got systems. You've got a rhythm, and things are fine. Are they fine? I don't know. But here's the catch. Fine is not the same as fulfilled. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time because that's so important. Being fine is not the same as being fulfilled in what you're doing. Stability can feel like you're coasting instead of climbing, that there's no real fire. There's just flickers around you. You're playing it safe because it works. Or you stopped asking the big important question, what's possible? What's possible to do? So we've seen this in so many agents and entrepreneurs that we've talked to over the years, and their calendar's full, closings are happening, business looks good from the outside, but inside they're restless, they're bored, and they're stuck in that weird rinse and repeat cycle that kind of has lost its meaning. So that's stability. So stability sounds great, right? But when you really dive into it, sometimes it's not really the best place you want to be. And while it's not really a bad place, it's not your final destination either. And that's what's so important to remember, that stability is not where you want to end up. You want to end up over there in that third place, that flow. So how do you shift from this, right? So try this. Pinpoint a spark that's missing in your life or in your business. What used to excite you that now feels a little bit flat. Because things can sometimes become a little mundane, right? Or you get used to things and things just become the normal habit. So think about that. Reconnect with your next level vision. Where do you want to grow next, right? Get out of the moment where you are. Put at least one little toe outside that box and start thinking about what you want to do next. And maybe something that might not be as comfortable for you. Audit what's on autopilot. Because a lot of times things just like become part of your daily routine, and there's nothing wrong with the daily routine. We love those. But at the same time, if you don't shake it up a little bit every once in a while, things can get lost in that autopilot state. Are your habits supporting your evolution, or are they just maintenance? That's super important. And then you can ask yourself, where have I been playing small, and what bold move would change all of that? I think those are great things that you need to look at on how you can kind of help yourself get out of this whole stability mode. Sometimes it's the smallest stretch, a new collaboration, a rebrand, a creative project. Any of those things can really reignite everything if you bring them into your mix. So stability is where reinvention actually begins. So don't rush it, because we always talk about that. Don't try to always get to the next step. Enjoy the journey of the step that you're in, because if you really think it out and you play it out right, it's going to be much more beneficial to you on the other side.
I love it. And I do think that stability, a lot of us I have stayed in that space, but it starts to get stale, to your point. And so great advice there in that, because the advice I've learned, okay, I have had this habit of, I'm kind of done with this. It's not igniting the fire. I'm not as passionate about it anymore. Let me just go recreate myself. So there's ways to do that. You can have confidence and believe in yourself and so forth, but it's in hindsight, and a couple decisions I've made over my life around believing I'll just be able to get to that flow state quicker is don't abandon the revenue streams or whatever you have coming in at the moment. make strategic moves and get clear about where you want to go. And honestly, that's, and you'll start doing little things that will start shifting you. Because I have coached so many real estate agents too, Matt, who been doing this for years, 20. I'm in 30 something years of this too. And it can get stale. It can get like you've lost the meaning, and you can find ways to rekindle what you want to do, or the approach that you want to take, or what's the next chapter of your life. That's what we're talking about there. Okay. Sure. So, but just do it strategically. Don't do it totally emotionally. Which brings us to state 3, the one we all want more of, and that is flow. And I will tell you that flow, it makes me think of, there's actually a book called Flow, and I cannot think of the gentleman's name. It's like a really hard name to remember, like Mikhail somebody. It's been out forever, and it talks about the science and stuff around flow. I think of athletes, really high-end athletes, like highest level generational athletes that talk about being in the flow, or sometimes they'll say being in the zone, where everything is just happening because they are just connected and everything is flowing, So just think of that, this idea of flow, because that's what's going on. Flow is when you're in alignment. Everything happens more effortlessly. So just even that athlete, think of like Michael Jordan in the day, or any, Tiger Woods in his day. They were just in a flow, okay? Like things just happened, and they just recognize this space they get in. If you ever listen to any of their interviews, sometimes they talk about like seeing everything in slow motion, like it's just happening, right? So that's this deal. Like even Einstein, others talk about having things be in a creative flow. And it's this piece about where you slow down enough that you're really in the actual now moment. Your brain is not going 100 miles an hour, and you're not in that survival or just stability mode, just making things happen. You are really literally just connected and in the presence, and you get out of the way, like your ego mind gets out of the way, and things can start flowing in easily. You feel energized and excited. And I have had experience of this a lot in the last year or so. It's not like it's there all the time though. And it's like you can chase it. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, right? So signs you're in the flow. You're energized by your work. You get up every day and you're excited about it. You're not like drained. You're like, ho hum, I don't want to do this anymore. You are attracting aligned clients. Back in survival mode, you will be attracting people that you're feeling in survival, and so you don't close as many deals.
Right.
Because wherever you are, that's what you're attracting. So you get into this state. You're working smarter, not harder. You're noticing synchronicities. Things just start to line up. The ideas and everything just flows, right? And the example that I wanted to talk about as a real world example was when Matt and I created WBNL Coaching. That day that we sat down and merged our two ideas was an example of that flow. And you and I have experienced this creative flow many, many times. But even when we just decided to do the podcast or build our sales builder course or our team builder course, we just were fired up. We were clear about what our vision was. And then we took actions, but it felt, like we were excited about what we were doing. You remember?
Yeah,
and it was, even though it was a lot of tedious stuff to do, we were aligned in this project, and the things just started to flow in, and we had like this process that we just made it all happen. So to sustain your flow, here's a couple things, okay? You have to get out of those other spaces, some of the things that we talked about already, and recognize that you're in those other spaces. But to sustain the flow once you find it is you've got to protect your energy. And this means don't overbook yourself. Don't be the overgiver. Don't say yes to everything. Have clear boundaries, okay? Build in rest and nature and reflection. Make sure you take days off, okay? Let your intuition lead you, and you need to trust it, but you've got to have balance, because if you're go, hustle 24/7, you'll never find the flow. The flow is eluding you. It's just right here. But when you're in this space of blah, 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 you got to calm your mind down. There are other practices and things that we talk about all the time on the podcast. And it's just in that morning routine, doing breathing, breath work, guided meditations, just getting up and taking a walk in nature and just breathing and letting go of the thoughts. This is where you can find the flow.
That's really awesome. Yep. So let's pull this all together right now. And because awareness is always the first shift that you need to take. And it's sort of funny as we're talking about this. I mean, there are some days when you're just like really kind of jumbled and chaotic, where you feel like you go through all three of these things several times in one day, depending upon what's going on. I mean, it can happen, right? And you know that if you're in that state, you really need to reflect and realign. But anyway, just always know that you're somewhere on this energetic map all the time. You're in one of those three states. And identifying where that is. It's okay if you're in those states. The magic is knowing where you are and making that choice to go to what's next, right? To take that next step up to the next level. So pause for a moment and ask yourself, what state am I in now? Am I in survival? Am I in stability? Or am I in flow? What's one micro action, we love our micro movements and our micro thoughts, that I can take today to move the dial toward flow? Now, you may not be able to jump from survival to flow in one step. Matter of fact, that's usually not the way it works, unless you are so in tune with this and you can just jump right to it. You know what your triggers are. But just think of one thing that can move you in the right direction, because it's always about forward movement. Because when I picture my aligned business or life, what does it look like? What does it feel like? Ask those questions of yourself, and that can maybe help move you along the path. And what's one step I can take this week to move in that direction? So take it from what can I do right now into what can I do over the next week. And you just keep moving. Like I said, it's all about the movement. You keep moving it along. So if you're in survival, strip it down. Focus on one clear action that brings you calm, because that's the problem with the whole survival state. You're getting yourself all worked up into a little dither, right? And you need to start, grounding yourself and aligning a little bit there. If you're in stability, get curious. What are you ready to expand in your life? What are some of those things that are on autopilot? Can you turn off the autopilot and then take to the next level? And if you're in flow, just freaking honor it, right? Because flow loves space and it loves attention. So you need to realize you're there and appreciate you're there. Have a little gratitude for it, as a matter of fact. It's not about judgment. It's about momentum. And it starts with intention.
Wow. This is good stuff. So our message to you today is you don't have to stay stuck in survival if you're there, or even instability if you're ready to make the change, right? Remember, your energy creates the results. It's your energy in your mindset, what you're believing, in the actions that you take, is what's going to flow into your results. And so it's hopefully some of these ideas here today will help you recognize, I don't want to be in that space anymore. I really do want to have that flow, right? And, there's one thing you just said that is so powerful, that you've been in flow before. All of us have. And there was a question that Matt just covered that was like, think about a time when you were in flow, for your personal life or your business. How did you feel? What was it that was happening? And that's going to help you, because it's the emotion. People miss that. They think it's like, I just have to think about success or think about something. It's not just the thought. It's thought plus feeling. And Napoleon Hill described it the best. It's the burning desire. When you have the passion and the burning desire about the thought, because guess what? You can have that. You can have a lot of emotion, but on the negative side, and you're wondering, why is that happening in my life? Because your emotions are just like going crazy of like the fear and the things that happen in survival, and you attract more of it. And just recapping, we talked about awareness is key. When you are aware, then you're realizing, oh, I'm cycling in the survival space. Stop, ground, breathe, do something that shifts. It's pattern interrupt. Shift. And that's why I'm saying, remember what it is that you felt. Draw the whole picture. Use all your senses. So that's probably the biggest takeaway today. When you've been in flow before and you know what we're talking about here, how did you feel? What did it sound like? What was happening? Even all the senses. What was going on? And you gotta get to that picture. Then you can do some of these things that we talked about today. Take the micro action. Take a walk. Do something that is going to help you move to the next place. And it can happen quicker. The more you do this is the thing I'm realizing. The more you practice this and you become aware, and then you can shift. It could have taken you weeks to shift into a different mindset to all of a sudden you're doing it in an hour.
Yep.
Less, because you just do something that shifts and then you're back to it. Then when you start feeling better, everything starts to pile on. Just like when you're in the negative space, everything piles on and you can get into this spiral out of control. Let's spiral up. Let's not spiral down, right?
Yep.
All right. So until next time, keep aligning and keep flowing.